it's been tremendous today, I think, to see the people that started, and the room's still pretty full, and we've had a full day and 30 some odd speakers and a lot of questions, a lot of interaction. And it's kind of that moon landing. It's kind of a small step for us, but it's really a big leap. And I think it's maybe the first step in a number of steps. And Director Fordyce and I talked about that there has to be a result of today, and there will be. And I'm going to let him come up and speak. And probably what I'd like to do now is invite Director Fordyce to come up and kind of wrap this session up. And it's been truly a pleasure, and we've enjoyed each and every one of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Anytime you put on an event like this, I think it's certainly the right thing to do to say a few thank yous. And the first thank you I want to say is to Mark Russell. Mark moderated our beef summit today, and things were pretty much on time, and Mark kept us going, generated some conversation and questions, although I knew with this group questions and comments would not be a problem. The reason that went along so well is because of Mark's ability to keep us on time and to do a good job. So, Mark Russell, thank you very much. Also want to say a big thank you to our panelists. I think Mark said 30-some presenters today. It was a big day, and our panelists were on point. They got to the points they wanted to talk to. And I want to say a huge thank you, not only for them being here, but for them to say that they would be here. This thing came together really quickly. We made a lot of calls, and by and large, everyone that schedule would allow were here, and we appreciate all the panelists very much throughout the entire day. So let's give all of our panelists a big round of applause. I want to say a special thank you for lunch today. I think it was referenced. John talked about your steak at lunch today. Missouri Cattlemen's prepared that. And when we announced the Beef Summit, Mike Deering said right off the bat, he said, hey, we could cater that for you. And, you're having a Beef Summit. That makes good sense that the Cattlemen's catered it. The meal was fantastic. Also want to say a big thank you to Missouri Soybean Association and Missouri Corn Growers for actually paying for that. So big thank you to them. So let's give all those folks a big hand. I heard a lot of things today, and I was just going to recap just a little bit about what we heard. And ideas that were tossed around. I heard marginal crop ground being sowed back down to grass. Is there an ability to incentivize folks to do that? Because it is costly and it is going to take some time. I mean, those acres would be basically out of production for a year. It's going to require fencing. Is that something that can move the needle in the beef industry? The LRP was mentioned, or the LRP program was mentioned, and is there opportunities for improvements there? I don't know what that looks like. That's a federal program. And so I don't know what that looks like, but there's an opportunity there as well. The disparity in the livestock programs as compared to the crop programs is there. I mean, the incentivization of the crop insurance programs is at a higher percentage than it is the livestock programs. Is that something we need to look at and take a look at on improving that? Dr. Wiegand talked about the meat science lab at the university. There's a need there for an upgrade. Does that move the needle for the Missouri beef industry? We talked about local processors and the processors that we have here in the state that have the ability, have technology. Maybe they're a little short on storage space or cooler space. Is that something that we can engage in? Is that something that we can do to help move the needle for Missouri beef? Dr. Curley talked about a better synergy with university and producers and university and the industry. A lot of tremendous things are happening here at the University of Missouri when it comes to beef sciences, whether it's genetics, whether it's breeding, whether it's efficiencies in cattle, identifying cattle that are going to finish sooner at a higher quality. A lot of information. And I've said, I've said for the last 10 months, when we started really taking a deep look into the beef industry, we have got resources in the state of Missouri that I'm not sure we have anywhere else across the country. We have a cattlemen's association that's engaged in issues that pertain to the industry. We've got a university here at Columbia, but also around the state, other institutions around the state that are working in the beef sciences. Experts that the discoveries that they're making here in Missouri, I think, are being shared by Missouri producers, but I think producers in other states are taking advantage of that as well. So, I don't know what the answer is, but I do promise you, and I commit to you, that this is not the end of the conversation. We're going to continue this conversation. I'll talk a little bit about that just here in a second. I know a lot of you need to get going, and I talked to a couple guys out in the hallway who said they need to get home and finish choring, so I'll wrap this up pretty quick. We have so many resources here in the state, and just another one I'd like to bring attention to, and that's Hampton Feedlot, around Triplet. And I don't know if Gary Vanderber's still here or not, but Gary and his folks up there have started. We talk about environmental consciousness and what are we doing and doing things the right way. Well, Hampton Feedlot, those of you who know, have worked for a couple of years on anaerobic digester. They're scraping their barns. They're using that manure to create energy. A great success story. And a lot of these things we can do. A lot of these things that I know that are available to us, and those are the kind of things that we want to do. Blake said it really well, and only the way Blake can say it. 11-man football, played for a state championship, 8-man, and now they have to go to another school to get enough kids to play 8-man. When we talk about moving forward, and the governor commented, I know a comment he said this morning, that anytime we talk about moving the needle in this industry and the number has three commas in it, the potential that we can move this industry forward, and it has 3 commas, that's worth our time. That's worth all of our time. All of us in this room, that's worth our time to work on. But we talk about who benefits from that. Well, obviously the state of Missouri benefits from that. And obviously beef producers and the beef industry benefit from that, but our rural communities, we talk about all the time. I come from a county that has 7,000 people and a town that has 3,000. And we talk about rural community vitality. And that is our economic development. Agriculture is our economic development in those small communities all across the state of Missouri. And I think it's important that we concentrate on that. And that's another motivation for moving the beef industry forward. If we can have 265 people pre-register for a beef summit in Columbia, Missouri, to talk about moving the industry forward when we are seeing historically high prices, that says a lot. Because typically when this meeting would happen is when we have historically low prices and everybody's wondering, what in the world are we going to do? Well, you're here. You're in the room. You're having a conversation about moving the beef industry forward, and I appreciate that very, very much. As Mark indicated, we're going to have an online survey that's going to go out to all the participants, and it's an opportunity for you to provide additional feedback. And we are, tomorrow, Department of Agriculture staff are going to start compiling a lot of the comments that we heard, a lot of the input that we got, and once we start getting those online surveys back, we're going to start putting that together, and we're going to continue to reach out to the industry. The governor has challenged us with doing something in the beef industry, and it's up to all of us to do that. Any program that we do is not going to be successful unless we have buy-in from the industry and support from the industry. And I am totally excited about what happened today. I thought the comments were, it wasn't an opportunity or situation where everybody was all on the same page. We had opinions going different directions, and I think those kind of conversations are healthy, and those are the kind of conversations we have to move this industry forward. But from a timeline standpoint, the governor's challenged us to do something in the beef industry, to capture that value that has 3 commas in it. And so as we move forward, and this is not going to be the end. We're going to continue this conversation. Governor's got 2 years left in office, so I guess that means I have 2 years left. And so this is going to be accelerated. This is not the end of the conversation. So we certainly welcome your input as we move this forward. The reason I know that it'll move forward is because of the people. And I've said this since I came on board as Director of Agriculture. The reason that agriculture is the number one industry in the state, we have access to technology. We have access to technologies we've never had before, whether it's in our plants, our animals, or our equipment. It's the people of the state of Missouri that have made this industry number one. And I'm confident of that, and I know that. And so that's why this beef thing is going to move forward, and it's going to move forward in a positive fashion. I want to say a special thank you to our Mda staff. I know those of you that know this, but we just finished the Governor's Conference on Agriculture, 18, 19, and 20 of December. And so when we looked at a date as to when we should have this summit, again, we're on an accelerated timeline, and this idea is not going to drop. And so in visiting with the governor's office, we thought that January 5th would be a good date to do that. Legislature's about to come into session. Things get really busy and hectic once the legislature's in town. And so let's try to do that before the legislature comes to town. Get legislators here at this meeting, but let's have a really good conversation. So January 5th, we just finished a governor's conference, which takes an awful lot of resources from the Department of Agriculture staff. And they put this thing together in about 30 days. So I want to say a huge thank you to Mda staff for getting the panelists, getting the room, the meal, the program, everything that they've done to get this put together. I want to say a special thank you to the Mda staff. And finally, I know we need to get out of here. But I truly believe, and I mean this with all my heart, if you look at that date, January 5th, 2015, I hope we look back on that date a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, and we say that was the date that the Missouri beef industry took a huge step forward. That was the date that the Missouri beef industry were ahead of the curve. They had a crystal ball. They knew what they were doing, and they made the right choices. So with all of your help and all the resources that we have access to, we're going to do that. So again, thank you very much for coming. It was a great meeting. Be safe going home, and we will all be talking again soon, I'm sure. Thank you very much.